Captain Elias Ward had spent most of his adult life in the cold void of space. Decades had been devoted to research missions, deep space exploration, and encounters with phenomena that had made ordinary humans tremble. And yet, after all those years, the simple thought of moving into a quiet orbital habitat over New Geneva made him feel unsettled. The habitat was nothing spectacular from the outside, a silver ring orbiting a bright, blue planet. Its walls gleamed faintly under the distant sunlight, and it rotated slowly, keeping artificial gravity at one standard Earth unit. But to Elias, it seemed impossibly empty. The corridors were sterile, the lights soft and muted, and the hum of machinery constant, almost like a heartbeat. After years of emergency alarms, sudden solar flares, and alien encounters, the stillness was foreign. He carried only a few personal items: a worn leather satchel with mission logs, a small collection of Earth novels, and a single photograph of his family. He placed the photo on a narrow table in his new apartment and stared at it for a long moment. The people in the picture smiled, their faces warm and familiar. He had missed them more than he wanted to admit. That night, the soft hum of the habitat was joined by another sound: footsteps on the corridor outside his door. Elias glanced at the small surveillance screen built into the wall. Nothing. No one. He shook his head. Maybe the isolation was already playing tricks on him. A knock followed. Gentle, polite, almost hesitant. Elias hesitated. He hadn't expected visitors. Not here. Not so soon. Still, curiosity won. He opened the door. A woman stood there, tall and thin, with hair that glimmered faintly under the habitat lights. Her eyes held a strange intensity, the kind that made someone feel like they could see all their secrets at once. She carried no visible weapons, no gadgets, only a small, metallic case under her arm. "You must be Captain Ward," she said softly. Her voice was calm, almost a whisper. "I'm Dr. Lyra Voss, your new neighbor." Elias nodded, unsure what to say. Yes, that's me." "And you are?" Lyra's lips curved into a brief smile. "I already said Lyra. But names don't matter much here. Not when things are unusual." Elias blinked. "Unusual?" She tilted her head slightly. "If you want to see, just ask." Elias froze. Something in her tone, the way she said it, made his pulse quicken. He had faced black holes, alien civilizations, and quantum storms. And yet now he felt the same hesitation he had when stepping onto a new planet for the first time. "Am I even allowed?" he asked, almost instinctively. Lyra's gaze softened, almost empathetic. "That depends. Are you afraid of knowing too much?" Elias swallowed. He was never afraid. Not of danger. Not of discovery. And yet, he found himself hesitating, his hand hovering over the doorframe as if it were a lifeline. There was a subtle warning in her eyes, one he couldn't ignore. I don't know," he admitted. She nodded slowly, as if she understood completely. "Good. That uncertainty is important. It keeps you human." The hallway lights flickered, as if emphasizing her words. Elias realized that her presence alone made the air feel heavier, almost charged. He had heard of humans being sensitive to electromagnetic fields in certain alien environments. Perhaps this was something like that. But no, it wasn't a field. It was her. "Look," she said, holding up the small metallic case. "I won't force you. You don't have to know anything. But I've seen your missions, your logs. You have the kind of mind that can handle things most humans cannot." Elias's brow furrowed. "Handle things? Like what?" Lyra hesitated, then whispered. "Things that some people, some species think humans should never see. But you've already been beyond the frontier. You're not ordinary." Elias's heart pounded. He had faced the unknown many times, but something about her words made the cold fear of space feel tame. "I'm listening," he said finally. She smiled faintly. "Good. That's all I need for now." Just listening. A long pause followed. The hum of the habitat seemed louder. The distant twinkle of stars beyond the windows pressed against the walls like they wanted to witness this conversation too. Finally, Lyra leaned slightly closer, lowering her voice. "There's an artifact," she said. "Something humanity recovered years ago. Something we were told not to touch, not to look at, not even to study. But I found it. And I've been studying it." Elias's mind raced. "An artifact? What kind of artifact?" "Not just any artifact," Lyra said. "One that changes the way you perceive reality. One that—" She paused, her eyes flicking toward the corridor behind him, as if she were sensing something invisible. "Chooses humans." "Chooses humans?" Elias repeated, skeptical but intrigued. She nodded. "I've tested it. Carefully. It responds to curiosity, courage, and determination. It recognizes potential." Elias felt a shiver run down his spine. He had never believed in anything mystical. Yet here, in a simple apartment, in a quiet orbital habitat, he felt the impossible. "Why me?" he asked. "Because you've survived things others wouldn't even imagine. You've made decisions under pressure that no AI could emulate. And most importantly," she paused, "you ask questions." Elias looked at her. There was no malice, no hidden agenda that he could detect. Just an earnest belief in something extraordinary. "I don't know if I'm ready," he admitted. "No one is," she said softly. "But the question isn't about readiness. It's about whether you dare to see. That's all." He nodded slowly, trying to calm the sudden storm of thoughts in his mind. Star charts, alien encounters, quantum anomalies, all of it had prepared him for challenges, but nothing had prepared him for this simple choice, to look or not to look. For a few moments, neither of them spoke. The corridor was empty. The hum of the habitat continued, and somewhere, faintly, a star winked, as if aware that decisions were being made here that could ripple far beyond the orbital habitat. Finally, Elias took a step back and gestured toward the small metallic case. "Show me," he said. Lyra's eyes sparkled, a mixture of relief and excitement. She carefully placed the case on the narrow table by the door and opened it. Inside was a small, crystalline device. It pulsed faintly with an inner light that seemed alive. Shadows danced on the walls, as if the device breathed in rhythm with their curiosity. Elias felt drawn to it. His hand itched to touch it. And yet, as he reached out, a tiny voice in the back of his mind whispered, "Are you sure you're allowed?" Lyra watched him. "You already asked that question," she said. "That's why you're allowed. Fear isn't the opposite of courage, it's its companion. And now, it's your turn." He took a deep breath. The world outside the orbital windows felt distant. The stars seemed to lean closer. He felt something he hadn't felt in years, the pure, unshakable thrill of discovery, the kind that made humans remarkable. With a steady hand, Elias touched the device. It vibrated faintly under his fingers, sending a ripple of light through the room. Colors shimmered along the walls, colors he had never seen before. Shapes formed and dissolved, patterns that seemed both ancient and impossibly futuristic. Elias gasped. He had glimpsed many wonders, but none like this. The universe felt alive in a way he had only theorized about, alive and responsive, almost aware of him. Lyra smiled. "You see? This is only the beginning. But know this. Once you start seeing, nothing can ever be the same." Elias looked at her, then back at the shimmering device. His life in the quiet orbital habitat had begun with a whisper, a hesitant question, and now, an awakening. Outside, the stars kept watch, silent witnesses to the moment humanity's courage met the first true unknown, beyond the frontier. And somewhere deep inside, Elias knew he would never stop asking. The morning light in the orbital habitat was soft and pale. It spilled through the curved windows and reflected off the silver walls. But for Captain Elias Ward, light had lost its ordinary meaning. Last night had changed everything. The crystalline device Lyra Voss had revealed still pulsed in his mind, its colors and shapes flickering even when he closed his eyes. He sat on the edge of his narrow bed, staring at the small metallic case that now sat on the table beside him. It seemed harmless, almost elegant. Yet he knew it carried a power he could barely understand. He had been in space longer than most humans lived on Earth. He had seen black holes rip stars apart, and encountered alien civilizations that defied logic. And yet, the artifact felt different. A soft knock at the door interrupted his thoughts. "Come in," Elias called, his voice steadier than he felt. Lyra stepped inside, her calm presence filling the room. "Good. I was hoping we could talk," she said, placing a small, portable scanner on the table beside the artifact. Elias raised an eyebrow. "Talk about what exactly?" "The device," Lyra replied simply. "It's not just an artifact. It's a window, a way to see things humans were never supposed to see. Things hidden from us by rules we didn't make." He frowned. "Hidden by whom?" She paused, as if measuring her words. "The Galactic Concord. They govern space trade, exploration, and knowledge. They've existed for millennia and have always dictated what species can and cannot learn. Humanity is new to the larger galaxy, and apparently, we're considered curious. Dangerous curiosity." In their words, Elias leaned back, processing the information. "So, they tell humans not to study this thing." "Exactly," Lyra said. "And like any species, humans have a choice: obey or understand." He shook his head slowly. "And you chose to understand." "Yes," she said, her eyes steady. "Because the artifact recognizes potential. It responds to humans in a way no other species can. That is why I reached out to you. Your missions, your decisions under pressure, they're why I knew you could handle it." Elias's heart beat faster. "Handle it? What does that mean?" Lyra picked up the device carefully. Light pulsed along its crystalline surface, reflecting on her face. "It's more than knowledge. It's perception. It allows you to see hidden layers of reality, structures in space-time that are invisible under ordinary senses. But it's delicate. Misuse it, and the consequences could be catastrophic." Elias hesitated. He had faced deadly storms in space, but now the threat was not external. It was understanding something too vast for his mind. "And you think I can survive this?" She smiled faintly. "Survival isn't the point. Comprehension is. And humans are remarkable at comprehension. That's why the Concord fears us. That's why they try to hide it. But we have a chance to see what others cannot." He studied her for a long moment. She wasn't exaggerating. He could feel the truth in her words. The artifact seemed to pulse with recognition whenever he looked at it, as if it understood him, and yet, the very thought of disobeying the Concord made him uneasy. "Are we allowed to do this?" he asked, echoing the same question from the night before. "That's a human question," Lyra said softly. "Rules matter when someone else can enforce them. Here, in this habitat, enforcement is limited. But morality is always in your hands. You decide whether the curiosity is worth the risk." Elias took a deep breath. He had always been cautious, disciplined, and logical. But the pull of discovery was stronger than fear. Humans had always pushed boundaries. That was how they survived, how they grew, how they thrived. "Show me," he said finally. Lyra nodded. "Good. But first, you must understand the artifact's nature. It doesn't simply show what exists. It reacts to your mind, your decisions, your willingness to question everything. It's a dialogue, not a tool." She activated the scanner, and a faint hum filled the room. Light from the device shimmered across the walls, forming delicate patterns that moved almost like living creatures. Elias leaned forward, unable to look away. "What am I seeing?" he whispered. "Layers of reality," Lyra said. Some are physical, some are not. Time, space, potential, all folded into ways we can barely perceive. Look closely. Think. Feel. Elias reached out, letting his fingers hover above the crystalline surface. A warmth spread through him, not from heat, but from sensation, a connection. His vision blurred at first, then sharpened in ways that made him gasp. He saw not just the room, but faint lines of energy surrounding it, pulsing and weaving together like a vast network. "Is this real?" he asked. "Absolutely," Lyra said. "It's real, but it's hidden. The Concord hides it because humans are unpredictable. But the device trusts humans. It recognizes courage, intelligence, curiosity. It recognizes you." The room seemed to dissolve around him. For a moment, Elias felt as if he were standing in a corridor of light, stretching across galaxies. He could see faint stars where none should exist, energy flowing like rivers, and structures that defied known physics. "Stay focused," Lyra warned. "It can overwhelm you. The first time can be disorienting." Elias nodded, though the words barely registered. His mind was flooded with the impossible. And yet, he felt alive, in a way he hadn't felt since his first mission into uncharted space. Humans had always adapted, always survived, always learned. That instinct, the desire to push beyond, was what had brought him here, to this moment. After several minutes, his vision returned to normal, though the memory of what he had seen stayed with him, vivid and electrifying. "It's incredible," he said. "I can't even describe it." "That's only the beginning," Lyra said, smiling. "There's more to see, more to understand. And humanity. Humans are capable of more than we imagine. That's why I brought you here. You can help me unlock it safely." Elias hesitated. The responsibility was enormous. If the Concord discovered their activity, the consequences could be severe. But a greater thought pushed through his fear. Humans had always overcome challenges by daring to step where others feared. Why should this be different? "I'll do it," he said. Lyra's eyes brightened. "Good. But remember, it's not about control, it's about perception. Let it guide you, not the other way around. It responds to the human mind in ways we're only beginning to understand." Over the next few hours, she explained what little she knew. The artifact had been discovered on a remote planet decades ago. Human scientists had tried to study it but failed, either because their minds could not comprehend its structure or because the Concord intervened. Lyra had worked in secret, slowly understanding its rules, learning to navigate its energy without triggering dangerous feedback. Elias listened, fascinated. Every detail, every caution, every observation confirmed what he already sensed. Humans were extraordinary. They could survive, adapt, and master things no other species could. And this device, the artifact, was a test of that very potential. By evening, they decided it was time to push further. Elias placed his hands on the device again. This time, he focused, opening his mind to its patterns and energies. The room shimmered once more, and he felt the universe expand around him. He saw entire star systems as delicate threads, weaving in and out of time, interacting in ways that made no conventional sense. "This is incredible," he whispered. "I can see everything. Possibilities, futures, structures." Lyra nodded. "Exactly. And the best part? Humans can influence what they see not by force, but by understanding. Observation becomes participation. Curiosity drives creation. That's what makes us remarkable." Elias felt a surge of pride and awe. Humans had always been the underdogs. In countless encounters with hostile worlds, unpredictable environments, and overwhelming odds, they had survived not because they were the strongest, but because they adapted. And now, standing before the artifact, he realized something profound. Humanity was ready for more. "We need to be careful," Lyra said, her tone serious. "This isn't just a tool for knowledge. It's a test. And the Concord, if they find out, they will try to stop us. But humans can achieve things that even they cannot anticipate. Elias looked at her. Then we proceed. But we proceed wisely. Lyra smiled. That's why I chose you. Courage, intelligence, curiosity, all the qualities the artifact respects. You are the human it recognizes, and together, we can see what the universe has been hiding from us. As the orbital lights dimmed for the night, Elias felt a sense of purpose he had not felt in years. The artifact pulsed softly on the table. A gentle heartbeat of light. He realized that the real journey had just begun. The human spirit had been tested for centuries. And now, for the first time, it had a chance to confront the universe on its own terms. And deep inside, Elias knew one thing with certainty. Humans were ready to rise. The orbital habitat spun slowly around New Geneva, its quiet hum filling the corridors. To any casual observer, it was a place of calm, a safe haven above the planet's bustling cities. But inside Captain Elias Ward's apartment, the air was charged with anticipation. Last night's tests with the artifact had changed something fundamental within him. He could still feel the pulse of its crystalline core in his mind, a quiet reminder that the universe was far more complex than humans had been allowed to see. Lyra Voss stood across the table, her expression serious but calm. Tonight, she said, we push further. You've learned to see patterns, to feel the flows. Now it's time to understand what they mean. This is your first true glimpse. Elias nodded, taking a deep breath. His hand hovered over the artifact, its surface glowing faintly, as if sensing his resolve. He had faced cosmic storms, alien worlds, and the void of interstellar travel. But this was unlike any challenge before. Here, the danger was not physical, it was mental, emotional, and perhaps even moral. Remember, Lyra said, the artifact doesn't show just what is, it shows what could be. And it chooses humans for a reason. Trust it, but remain aware. This is not a simple tool. It's a mirror and a guide. Elias placed his hands lightly on the crystalline device. A warmth spread through his fingers and up his arms. Light shimmered along the walls, forming faint, shifting patterns. The room seemed to pulse with a rhythm all its own, in sync with the quiet heartbeat of the artifact. At first, his vision blurred. Colors he had never seen before streaked across his eyes. Shapes appeared and disappeared, as if reality itself were folding in and out. And then, gradually, his perception stabilized. What he saw was not his apartment, not the habitat, not even the familiar stars outside. He gasped. Before him stretched corridors of energy, faint yet vibrant, weaving through the galaxy like threads in a vast tapestry. Stars shone along these paths, their light bending in ways that defied known physics. Entire star systems appeared as delicate, interconnected structures, forming patterns that suggested design, order, and purpose. It was as though he could see the hidden architecture of the universe itself. Unbelievable, he whispered. It's alive, Lyra nodded. It is. Not in the way humans think of life, but in the way the universe itself is aware. These structures, they are paths, corridors of energy and matter, used for purposes long hidden. Most species cannot perceive them. Humans are different. Elias's mind raced. Different how? The artifact chooses humans, Lyra said. We see not just what exists, but what could exist. Our minds can understand patterns that others cannot. That is why the Concord feared humanity. They knew we could reach beyond their control. Elias turned back to the shimmering corridors. As he observed, he began to notice something extraordinary. Faint points of light that pulsed more strongly than the surrounding energy. He realized, slowly, that these points responded to his thoughts, shifting subtly as he focused. The artifact was not just showing him the universe, it was allowing him to interact with it. Focus on one, Lyra instructed softly. See where it leads. He chose a bright pulse near the center of the display. As he concentrated, The pulse elongated into a thin ribbon of light, stretching across thousands of light years. His mind followed it, and the corridor seemed to expand, revealing distant star systems, some of which he recognized from maps, others entirely unknown. "It's like a map," he said. "A hidden map of the galaxy." "Yes," Lyra confirmed. "But it's more than a map. It's a network of possibilities. Paths that civilizations could take, but that have been hidden or unused. The Concord has maintained this network for centuries, keeping knowledge and roots exclusive. But the artifact, it trusts humans." Elias felt a surge of pride and awe. Humanity had always been underestimated, dismissed as fragile, reckless, or too emotional to survive in the galaxy. And yet here he was, standing in the middle of the orbital habitat, touching an object that recognized humans as capable, worthy, and extraordinary. "Can it be controlled?" he asked. "Could someone use it to manipulate these paths?" Lyra's gaze was steady. "It doesn't work like that. The artifact is not a weapon. It doesn't bend the universe to your will. It reveals. It responds. It guides. Humans are capable of understanding and influencing, yes, but through comprehension, not force. That is why it trusts us." Elias nodded slowly. He felt the truth in her words. This was not a tool of conquest. It was a mirror of potential, a test of human ingenuity and courage, and in that moment, he understood the essence of humanity. Survival, curiosity, creativity, and adaptability. Those traits had allowed them to endure impossible odds, to thrive in environments that should have killed them. And now, perhaps, to unlock secrets no one else could touch. Hours passed. Elias explored corridor after corridor, following pulses of energy, observing patterns, and gradually understanding the connections. He saw clusters of stars forming pathways that suggested travel faster than conventional light could allow. He glimpsed areas where energy flowed differently, regions where the fabric of space itself seemed flexible, almost conscious. And then, something unexpected happened. One of the pulses responded not to his thoughts, but to his emotions. It brightened and curved toward him, forming a spiral of light that seemed to welcome him. Elias felt a strange connection, as if the universe itself were acknowledging his presence. Lyra watched silently, a faint smile on her face. "You see it," she said softly. "It's recognizing you. Not just your mind, but your human essence. That is why it chose us. Why it trusts humans." Elias felt a shiver run down his spine. The corridor of light seemed endless, but in it, he sensed purpose. Humanity had always been small, fragile, and overlooked. Yet here, the artifact had revealed their potential. To understand, to explore, to rise beyond limitations imposed by others. A sudden thought struck him. If humans could interact with this hidden network, could they influence the future of civilizations? Could they guide paths of stars and energy, helping species survive or prosper where others failed? "Is that possible?" he asked, almost in disbelief. Lyra nodded slowly. "Yes, but it is not something we control directly. The artifact responds to understanding, courage, and curiosity. Humans can influence, but only by thinking, learning, and adapting. That is the lesson. That is the gift." Elias felt both awe and responsibility. The universe was vast, filled with civilizations, dangers, and wonders. Humans had survived by pushing boundaries, solving impossible problems, and daring to explore where others feared. And now, with the artifact, they had a chance to rise in ways the galaxy had never expected. He continued to explore the corridors, tracing pulses, following the glowing threads, and discovering systems and structures hidden from every map he had studied. He saw faint echoes of civilizations long gone, remnants of energy patterns left behind like footprints, and he began to understand something profound. Humans were not just observers of the galaxy, they could become participants, In its unfolding story, hours turned into what felt like days. When he finally withdrew from the artifact, Elias was exhausted, but exhilarated. He sat on the edge of the table, staring at the glowing crystal, and felt a quiet reverence. "This is incredible," he whispered. "I've seen things no human has ever seen. Hidden structures, energy paths, entire star systems, and it feels like it's responding to us." "It is," Lyra said, her voice calm. "But remember, this is only the first glimpse. There is much more. And the Concord, if they discover what we are doing, they will try to stop us. But humans are extraordinary. We survive, we adapt, we learn, and now we can see the universe in ways no one else can." Elias took a deep breath, letting the weight of their discovery settle. Humanity had always been underestimated, dismissed, or controlled. But now, with courage, curiosity, and understanding, they could rise beyond expectations. He looked at Lyra, determination in his eyes. "Then we continue. Carefully. Wisely. But we continue." She smiled. "Exactly. That is why I chose you. That is why the artifact recognizes humans. And together, we will see what the universe has hidden not just for us, but for all humanity." Outside the windows of the orbital habitat, stars shone quietly, unaware of the awakening taking place within. And inside, Elias realized that for the first time, humanity was not just a small species struggling in the vastness of space. They were potential, courage, curiosity, and rising power. And the universe had taken notice. The orbital habitat rotated silently above New Geneva, bathed in the soft glow of the distant sun. To most residents, it was just another quiet night, a routine orbit above a bustling planet. But inside Captain Elias Ward's apartment, the air was tense. The artifact had revealed pathways, corridors of energy, and possibilities that no human or any other species had seen before. Elias had glimpsed the universe's hidden structure, and that knowledge was dangerous. "Do you feel that?" Lyra Voss asked softly, her eyes scanning the stars outside the window. Elias frowned. "Feel what?" "Movement," she said. "Not here, but out there." She pointed to the view of space beyond the habitat. Faint at first, almost invisible, a glimmer of something large appeared between the distant stars. A vessel. Elias's pulse quickened. "The Concord," he whispered. Lyra nodded. "They know we've activated the artifact. They don't like humans seeing what they were told not to. And they never tolerate curiosity that challenges their control." The vessel grew slowly in their viewports, sleek and imposing, with dark panels absorbing the light around it. Its presence was silent, almost ghostly, yet it radiated authority. The Concord did not communicate lightly, they observed first, and acted only when they felt justified. Elias felt a familiar tension, one he had learned to recognize in deep space missions. Danger was approaching. Not immediate, but inevitable. Humans had survived hostile worlds, meteor storms, and alien ambushes, but this was different. This threat was calculated, methodical, and aware of them. "What do we do?" he asked. "We prepare," Lyra said. "And we don't panic. The artifact has shown us hidden paths before. It can do so again. But only if we think, not react." Elias nodded. He could feel the pressure in his chest, but he reminded himself of what the artifact had already taught him. Humans are resilient, curious, adaptive, and courage is not the absence of fear, it is the will to act despite it. The Concord vessel drew closer, a dark shadow in the sea of stars. Communication signals pinged from it. But Lyra shook her head. "They're broadcasting in an encrypted protocol. They don't want to talk. They want to observe, to intimidate, to control." Elias stared at the glowing artifact on the table. Its crystalline core pulsed faintly, almost like a heartbeat. He placed his hand on it, feeling the warmth spread through him. The first time he had touched it, the artifact had revealed hidden corridors of energy across galaxies. Perhaps now, it could help them again. Focus, Lyra whispered. The artifact responds to perception. We can see them, understand them, and maybe avoid them. Elias closed his eyes, letting his mind reach out through the glowing crystal. Patterns of energy and light unfolded before him, threads connecting star systems, invisible to ordinary sensors, and then he saw something unexpected. A hidden corridor near the Concorde vessel. An energy pathway they could use to move without detection. There, he said, pointing. A path they can't see. Lyra's eyes widened. Incredible. You see it. Trust your instincts. That's why the artifact chose humans. Elias felt a surge of pride. Humanity had always been underestimated, dismissed as reckless, fragile, or limited. Yet here, in the silence of space, the artifact had recognized them humans as capable, intelligent, and worthy of understanding secrets no other species could perceive. We have to move, Lyra said. The Concorde will not wait forever. Once they detect our anomaly, they'll act. Elias nodded. Together, they prepared a small shuttle for departure. They couldn't bring the habitat itself through the hidden corridor, but a fast, agile craft could. And now that Elias could see the energy pathways, they had a chance to evade detection. The shuttle hummed as they launched. The artifact remained behind, its crystal surface glowing faintly, as if approving their decision. Elias guided the shuttle into the corridor he had seen through the artifact. The stars outside twisted and shimmered, bending in ways that made him feel dizzy yet exhilarated. Hold steady, Lyra instructed. Let the corridor guide us. Don't force it. Just observe and follow. As the shuttle glided through the hidden pathway, Elias noticed faint pulses responding to their presence. The artifact's energy seemed to resonate with them, creating a rhythm in the corridor that guided their movement. They were not just traveling, they were part of a living network, invisible to the Concorde, yet vibrant and active. Hours passed in tense silence. The shuttle's instruments showed nothing unusual. To any standard sensor, they were alone in the void. But Elias and Lyra knew better. They could feel the subtle vibrations of the universe around them, the hidden structures that the artifact had revealed. Finally, the corridor opened into a distant system. A cluster of stars that appeared ordinary but held potential hidden from ordinary observers. Elias guided the shuttle into orbit around a small planet, its surface calm and unremarkable. We're safe. For now, he said, exhaling. Lyra nodded. For now, but the Concorde will search. They always do. And humans must be ready. Elias looked at the artifact, imagining the possibilities it had revealed. Humans could survive hostile worlds, decipher complex patterns, and now, with guidance, navigate the hidden architecture of the universe itself. They were not weak, nor limited. They were adaptive, intelligent, and daring. They underestimated us, he said quietly. Lyra smiled faintly. Always. That's why we endure. That's why we survive. And that's why the artifact trusts humans. For the next several days, Elias and Lyra monitored the Concorde vessel from their hidden position. They studied its movements, patterns, and potential weaknesses. The artifact had shown them not just pathways of energy, but possibilities how humans could interact with the universe in ways no other species could anticipate. We're not just hiding, Elias said one evening, staring at the stars. We're learning, observing, understanding. That's human ingenuity. Lyra nodded. And that is what makes us dangerous to the Concorde. They cannot predict creativity, curiosity, or courage. That is why humanity rises. Elias felt a profound sense of purpose. Humanity had survived countless threats by daring to step beyond the known, by solving impossible problems, by adapting and learning. And now, with the artifact, they had the chance to understand the hidden universe, to participate in its structure, rather than remain observers. The Concorde vessel finally moved on, But the threat lingered. They had been noticed, observed, and challenged. And humans had responded not with panic, but with intelligence, courage, and determination. Elias looked at Lyra. "We've survived this encounter. But it's only the beginning." "Yes," Lyra said, her eyes reflecting the stars outside. "The artifact has shown us the first glimpse. But there is more. Much more. And humanity will rise." Outside, the stars continued to shine, silent witnesses to the awakening taking place within the orbital habitat. And inside, Elias knew one thing with certainty. Humans were not just survivors of space, they were capable of shaping it. With the Concorde temporarily out of reach, Elias and Lyra began to plan their next steps. They would explore more corridors, understand the patterns, and prepare humanity for what the universe had hidden. And through it all, the artifact pulsed quietly, a heartbeat of light and energy, guiding them forward. And humanity was ready to rise. The stars stretched endlessly beyond the windows of the orbital habitat, but for Captain Elias Ward, they no longer seemed distant. The universe was no longer an uncharted void to fear. It was alive, structured, and waiting for those who dared to understand it. The artifact had shown him pathways, corridors of energy, and possibilities that no human or alien had ever imagined. And now, humanity had a choice: remain small, obedient, and unseen, or rise to its potential. Elias stood beside Lyra Voss, staring at the faint glow of the artifact on the table. It pulsed like a heartbeat, subtle yet powerful, as if aware of the momentous events to come. Outside, the Concorde vessel had returned, silently observing the habitat. Its dark panels reflected the light of the stars, a reminder of the forces that sought to limit human discovery. "They'll act soon," Lyra said, her voice calm but firm. "Once they detect us interacting with the artifact again, they won't hesitate." Elias nodded. "We've evaded them before. Now we need more than evasion. We need a plan to show that humanity can rise without destroying ourselves or anyone else." Lyra smiled faintly. "The artifact has already given us one advantage: understanding. The Concorde doesn't trust humans because they can't predict us. But humans are extraordinary when faced with impossible odds. That's why it chose us." Elias took a deep breath. "Then we show them. Not with force, but with comprehension." The artifact pulsed brighter as if responding to his resolve. Elias placed his hands on the crystalline surface. Light expanded in the room, filling every corner, bending reality subtly around them. He felt the universe reaching out, offering its hidden structures once more. Threads of energy stretched across galaxies, faint yet powerful, forming corridors invisible to any sensor but visible to human perception. "Follow my lead," Lyra instructed. "This is the moment. Humanity's potential isn't measured by survival alone. It's measured by understanding, adaptation, and courage. You are ready." Elias nodded and focused on the brightest thread before him. It pulsed as if alive, vibrating in harmony with his thoughts. He reached toward it, and the room seemed to dissolve around him. Stars elongated into ribbons, entire systems unfurled like maps, and he could see civilizations' paths past, present, and possible futures. "They can't hide from this," he whispered. We're seeing it all." "Yes," Lyra said. "And humanity will be part of it. We can't force change, but we can understand it. That is our strength. That is why we survive." The Concorde vessel moved closer, dark and silent. Its sensors had begun detecting unusual energy readings, but they could not perceive the hidden corridors Elias now navigated. The artifact had revealed them, and in that revelation lay humanity's advantage. Elias focused on the threads connecting star systems. Some showed dormant civilizations, hidden energy flows, and possibilities suppressed by centuries of fear. He could see points where human ingenuity, applied at the right time and place, could unlock progress, survival, and growth. "Do you see it?" Lyra asked. "Yes," he said. We can guide. Not control, but guide. Humans can influence outcomes by understanding patterns the Concord cannot predict. They work together, moving along the threads of energy. The artifact responded, pulsing in rhythm with their minds. Each movement revealed more corridors, more possibilities. Elias felt a surge of pride. Humanity had always been underestimated, dismissed as reckless, fragile, or short-sighted. And yet, here, in the quiet of space, humans were capable of understanding structures and potentials no other species could. Suddenly, the Concord vessel activated a scanning pulse. Their sensors detected energy anomalies, an unusual glow in the habitat. The crew's voices crackled over long-distance communication channels, demanding compliance and immediate cessation of activity. Elias placed his hand on the artifact. "We don't hide anymore," he said firmly. "We won't obey out of fear." Lyra nodded. "Let them see. The universe has already chosen who humans are." With a deep breath, Elias guided the artifact's energy outward. Light flowed through the habitat, through space, and into the corridors the Concord had never known. It pulsed across the galaxy, revealing the hidden networks of stars, energy flows, and potential civilizations. Every human, every intelligent being with perception, could witness patterns that had been invisible for centuries. From the observation deck of the Concord vessel, crew members stared in disbelief. Sensors had failed. Instruments showed something beyond their understanding. The universe itself seemed alive, responsive, and human-centered in its revelation. They're seeing it," one officer whispered. "Yes," another said, voice trembling. "Humans, they can comprehend things we cannot predict." Elias felt a surge of exhilaration. Humanity had been underestimated, controlled, and dismissed. But here, in the quiet of space, humans had shown courage, intelligence, and ingenuity. The universe itself had recognized them. Lyra watched him, pride in her eyes. "This is the moment. Humans don't need permission. They only need to dare, to learn, and to rise." The Concord sent ships to intercept, but they moved blindly, unaware of the hidden pathways. Elias and Lyra used the artifact to navigate safely, demonstrating not force, but mastery of perception. Humans could survive by understanding, not domination. Across the galaxy, dormant systems began to resonate. Humans, following the revealed corridors, could now interact with hidden potentials, unlock knowledge, and explore pathways previously inaccessible. The artifact pulsed in rhythm with human curiosity and determination. Elias realized something profound. The Concord had tried to suppress humans, fearing their unpredictability. But humans had survived, adapted, and now, through comprehension and courage, were shaping their destiny. The Concord vessel retreated, unable to comprehend the full scope of what had occurred. Their authority had been challenged, not by weapons, but by insight. Humanity had demonstrated the ultimate strength, understanding, adaptability, and the courage to act despite fear. Elias looked at Lyra. "We did it. Humanity has risen." "Yes," she said softly. "And this is only the beginning. The universe is vast, full of wonders and challenges. But humans are capable of anything they dare to understand." Over the following days, Elias and Lyra guided humanity's first attempts to explore the newly revealed corridors. Scientists, explorers, and visionaries across New Geneva and other human colonies began to perceive hidden structures, dormant energy flows, and possible futures. Each discovery reinforced the truth Elias had learned. Humans were not just survivors, they were architects of potential. News of the Concord's withdrawal spread slowly, but it carried a powerful message. Humanity had faced a force that sought to limit knowledge, and humans had prevailed. Not through brute strength, but through curiosity, intelligence, and courage. The species that had been underestimated for centuries had proven its worth. Elias stood once more by the artifact, now dimmed and resting in its metallic case. He felt its pulse faintly, a quiet heartbeat in the room. It had guided humanity to the first glimpse of true potential. He smiled, thinking of every challenge humans had faced. The harshness of Earth, the dangers of space, the unknown threats of other civilizations. Humanity had survived them all, and now, with the artifact and the courage to explore, they would rise to the stars in ways no one else could predict. Lyra placed a hand on his shoulder. "Do you see now?" she asked. "Humans don't need permission. They only need to dare, to ask, and to act. That is our essence. That is why the universe trusts us." Elias nodded. "I see. And we will continue. Not for glory, not for conquest, but for understanding, for humanity, for the chance to rise." Outside, the stars continued to shine, silent witnesses to the awakening of a species that had always dared to push boundaries. Humanity, once underestimated, now stood unshackled, ready to explore, understand, and thrive across the galaxy. And somewhere deep within the artifact, a quiet pulse echoed the truth Elias had discovered. Humans were remarkable, not because of power or domination, but because of curiosity, courage, and the will to rise. The universe had noticed, and humanity had answered.